Hi, everybody. I am back. The lighting in this room is hideous. I feel like I'm looking into the eye of the sun by looking at my ring light. And I know I'm a couple of minutes early, so I did this on purpose to make sure I would not screw up this time. And I know there's a lot of new people, hopefully, joining us. I'm very excited to be back and since 1 o'clock my time, about when we got off the phone, if we got off the phone, I guess we're getting off the phone. I am using a phone off this live call. It's only been 3 hours, and I think we've added about 15 people to the Facebook group. So yay for that. Yay for referrals. So welcome anybody who wasn't here at the 12 o'clock meeting. And I hope that if you weren't at the 12 o'clock call, that you will have some time to get caught up on that. All of these calls are automatically being recorded into the Facebook group, so they will be accessible to you anytime. So, if at midnight you want to just binge watch all of them, you want to fast forward through some parts, I don't recommend that, but if I'm talking about something you don't want to hear about, just fast forward through that as well. However you want to consume the content is up to you, but certainly I hope that you will get caught up with the videos if you missed any of that. So I'm going to give it just another minute or so here before I actually get started on this afternoon's content. I have some content to share, and then also we're going to do some Q&A stuff as well. So I'm just going to give it like another minute. People are going wild posting things, which is awesome, and I need to get caught up on all of that as well. I have tried to keep up on that over the past couple hours, but also wanted to make sure I ate something and, took care of the dogs and all that good stuff. But I did reply to a bunch of posts that you guys had posted, and I certainly will try to get caught up on those later. There's a lot of you and one of me, and I'm already regretting not hiring somebody to help me with this because there's going to be a lot going on, but I'm very, very excited. So I'm going to jump right in. I don't know, how many of you are going to be able to join live for this. It's 4 o'clock on the East Coast, and, obviously different times everywhere else. So I'm just going to jump in, and then as people join, they join. And this, of course, will also be recorded, so anybody can watch this whenever they want. And I know it's really hard to jump in 3 times live. It's hard for me to even do 3 times live, and I'm the one doing this. So I understand, for you guys, it's a lot. So I appreciate you joining. Hi, Mandy. Hi, Latanya. Hopefully I'm saying that right. So I wanted to just pop in for this bonus session. I'm doing the sessions at noon. Excellent. Yeah, no, the homework, obviously we want to work on the homework, but, if we can't do it, immediately, that's fine. My goal is really just, for you guys to work through all of these exercises. Hi, Michelle. To work through all these exercises, as quickly as you can. But again, realizing that obviously you all have lives and things to do, and, you'll get to them when you get to them. But, I am doing prizes and contests and things like that, for the people who are doing their homework. And of course, if you don't do it immediately, you do it tomorrow, whatever, still, you're eligible for prizes, but I just, the reason for prizes and contests is really obviously just to motivate people to follow through and do the work. I've been a participant in these types of things myself a number of times in the past, and I understand from a participant standpoint how it can become overwhelming in a short period of time to get a lot of content and to get a lot of information. It's very exciting. I always take tons and tons of notes. I have these little notebooks, and they're pretty, and I, write tons and tons of things down in them. And, I print out the nice worksheets that everybody always makes, right? Like I did. And sometimes then later on, you don't do anything with any of this anymore because, you were excited during the workshop, or it got to be too much and you stopped doing it because you couldn't keep up. So please don't worry about that. This information is going to be here for a while. We're going to be working on this stuff together till middle of next week. You have the whole weekend, to do work and things like that. So please don't get overwhelmed already. I guess maybe I'm saying that just because I'm saying that for myself as well. Make sure I don't get overwhelmed. So I am really excited about the fact that we've gained about 15 new members in the group in the last 3 hours since the last call. So that is awesome. Those people obviously have plenty of time to get caught up, and even today, tomorrow, if you invite people in, they will still have plenty of time to get caught up and to join and to get value out of the workshop. So please don't feel like, oh, they didn't sign up in time for it to start. We're not that rigid around here at Career Happiness Map Coaching. I'm a little more flexible than that. I just want to help as many women as possible with their careers. So if you know somebody who you think might get some value out of this, please invite them. So I feel like we got probably about another 5 hours worth of content just from the stuff I've been reading that you guys have been posting in your homework and questions and things like that. So obviously we're not going to do 5 hours more of content though, because that's not possible. But what I'm saying is it's great. And I can see that there's a lot of really good things going on. I certainly am happy to also see you commenting on each other's stuff, because that is the whole purpose of community and learning through community, is that we all have different things to bring to each other. Hi, Marlene. To bring to each other, yes, I'm the career coach, so I'm the expert, I guess, but you all are experts as well in many things. And can certainly help and support each other as well. So I thank you all for that, and I encourage you to continue to respond to each other. Also, shout out to my dogs who behaved super well in the last call. So let's see how they do this time. The little guy is over here sleeping. He just looks so adorable. I may have to pick him up before this call is over just so you can see what he looks like, because he's really cute, really, really cute. And this Friday is my older dog Daisy's 11th birthday. And I just got her pup cake birthday pie in the mail today. And it's, yes, little Daisy. She's so cute. She's the most antisocial as far as coming on the camera, but I'm definitely going to bring her on by Friday for sure, because her birthday is Friday. So we have to have a little happy birthday to Daisy party. So right now we're going to talk about career curiosity, and then I am going to jump into answering a few of the questions that I saw that were posted on the question thread that I put up a few hours ago after the last call. If there are more questions, certainly, I'll invite you guys to pop more in here if we have time left. And if I don't get to them all, it's hard sometimes. Right now, there's not too many of you watching or writing, so there's not too much scrolling. But when everybody starts typing and it starts scrolling like crazy, I'm like, whoa, and I get a little nuts about that, and I miss things on the lives. So I will do my best. If I do miss something and I don't answer your question or I don't address your question, please put it in the Q&A, and I'm going to be back on at 8 o'clock my time, 4 hours from now. So I will address it then or tomorrow. Definitely make sure it gets addressed. If I don't get to it right now. Hi, Peggy. Hi, Murphy. So anyway, thank you all for coming back and joining me again. So I want to talk about, career curiosity. So what does that mean? Well, one of the things I really want to encourage all of you to do is to adopt a learning orientation when it comes to your career. Now, I wish I had coined that term, but I didn't. I'm not even sure if the person that I learned it from coined it or she got it from somewhere else. But there's a woman named Elaine Kazaya, who is a friend of mine and a mentor of mine here in Richmond. Some of you who live in Richmond may know Elaine. I guess we would call Elaine a life coach. She does journaling workshops and a lot of time management type workshops. She's a PhD in psychology. She did a lot of organizational psychology work, consulting in the corporate world, but she's just a wonderful person and just a very inspiring person. And I did a workshop with her last year on soulful time management, and it really changed my life. And one of the things that I learned in that was this whole concept of adopting a learning orientation. And what that really means is being open-minded to learning new things, and in tandem with that, seeking out new information. You know how when you tell a little kid, and I'm talking a fairly young child, but even like a 10-year-old, but definitely like a little kid, like a 5 or 6-year-old, you tell them what you do for a living, right? Unless you are a policeman, a fireman, a ballerina, a teacher, a doctor, I don't know, there may be a couple of other things, maybe whatever their parents do for a living. Unless you do one of those things, the child has no idea what you do. They have no idea what you're talking about because they don't know about different types of careers. They haven't had that life experience, right? They haven't learned about different careers. So the ones they know about are the ones that they see, right, in the world, the ones they're familiar with, the types of people that they interact with in the world. So that's what they know. So I always joke and say that, oh, little kids only know like 5 jobs. So when you ask a little child, what do you want to be when you grow up? Most of the time you will get one of those answers, from a little kid. I want to be an astronaut because they like movies about space. Or a lot of children will say they want to be veterinarians because they love animals. And how many people, of the people you knew when you were a child that said they wanted to be a veterinarian, how many actually did it? Probably not that many. So that's the orientation of the child. But honestly, if you think about it, a lot of us as adults really don't add all that much more information to that toolbox as far as what we know about careers that exist in the world and the different types of work that people do. Now, of course, I'm kind of a nerd with that because I've always been very interested in it. And, I was a recruiter for many years, and I went back and got my master's degree in career development, and, now got my career coaching certification, so I'm doing this as my life's work, right? So obviously I am very interested in it. However, I even would say that there's lots of times that people would tell me, at a party or, meeting someone for the first time, what they do for a living. And I don't really understand it. I don't really know what they do, right? I don't really get it. I know more obviously than I did when I was 5, but I think about what you do for a living and how many times, have you ever told anyone what your job is? And if you don't have a current job, maybe what your last job was or whatever. Have you ever told anybody what your job is? And I'm talking another adult who is a pretty intelligent person, who, has some knowledge of the world. And it's like crickets. They look at you like they have no idea what you're talking about. So tell me in the comments or give me some little emojis or something to tell me that you've done that before. Explain what you do. And people look at you like, what do you do? Or they get it totally wrong. So I think it's very common. It used to happen to me all the time. And I was a recruiter, which isn't that weird. Most people have, received a call from a recruiter in their lives, right? So I just find that a lot of times, like, Murphy says they never understand. Yeah, people don't understand. And, I think if we're being honest, we don't understand a lot of what other people tell us. Honestly, my husband is an electrical engineer by degree. And I still, we've been together for 8 years. I still could not really explain to you what he does. Now, part of that is because I'm not a technical person. It doesn't really interest me. And I'm guilty of that. But, he has the same problem. I've seen him. I've introduced him to people many times. Oh, Jim, what do you do? And he starts trying to explain what he does. And nobody gets it. So I think, what happens is, when men want to mansplain your job to you. Yes, Murphy, that does happen too. Yes. They say, oh, I know I used to get, oh, you're a headhunter. And no, a headhunter is not the same thing as a recruiter. Now, how many times do you think I couldn't be bothered explaining that to somebody though? And I would just say, yeah, that's what I do. That's it, because you just can't be bothered. And you're right. Men tend to do that more than women, unfortunately. But, so it's frustrating, but I think that it's something that we really, what Michelle just said, I don't understand at all, really. No. And that's technical. So when something is technical, it's kind of understandable that we might not completely understand it. But of course, what can we do if we don't understand something? We can ask questions, right? We can be interested in something that is not about us, right? And a lot of times people don't do that. But when it comes to career, I think a lot of people just get very, as we said earlier today, very stuck in whatever it is that we do, and whether we chose it or fell into it. That is our narrow sphere of knowledge, and we stay in that lane, and we don't really learn about other things. So that's why if we decide we want to make a career change, or we decide that, or we have to make a change, because something changes in the world, and we're forced to do so. There's a lot of people right now that are really freaking out because whatever they did for a living was in the real world and had to do with, touching people or touching a thing or, an object, it can't be done online. It can't be done remotely. There's a lot of people who are freaking out because, and rightly so, this is a very upsetting situation, but I've talked to a lot of people who've said, I have absolutely no idea what else I could possibly do. And it's interesting because it's really, tunnel vision, as Michelle just said. It's really easy to just, go along with our lives and not think that anything might change, and things change all the time. So I think you really have to think about what, learning about different things all the time, adopting a learning orientation all the time, not just when you need a job, not just when you're ready, for a career change, and just have a little bit more curiosity and interest in learning about what other people do and learning about what other, options there are in the world for you, even if your career is going okay, because we are not in a place. Yeah, it is, Murphy, you're right. It is hard to shift in a career. It is. But hard and impossible, right, are two different things. And oftentimes anything worth having or doing is hard in the sense that maybe it requires work, or maybe it requires effort, or, it requires, just a little more, right? A little more thinking to get outside of that box. We don't like a lot of times we don't like when people try to control us or put us in a box, right? You don't want to just be defined by what somebody, as Murphy said, that, somebody mansplains to you who you are and what you do or what your role is. We don't like that. We don't even like it when our bosses do it, or, our spouses do it, or our children do it, or whatever, right? But we do it to ourselves. We put ourselves in these boxes. I'm a fill in the blank, and right. So Cecilia said, I would say I'm just an admin. That's even worse, Cecilia, because what does that mean? I'm just an admin. No, you do administrative work for someone, which obviously has value, or else they wouldn't hire you to do it. And that's like a diminishing kind of statement. And I think we kind of all have a tendency, I think women all have a tendency to do that, to diminish, who we are, by how we categorize ourselves. But you could say, I'm a career coach, but really I'm not a career coach. Career coaching is what I have chosen to put my energy into to earn money at this stage in my life and to contribute to the world. But I am not a career coach. I am a human being, right? I am a person. I am a woman. I have many different roles. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm a friend. I'm a writer. I'm a pet mother, I'm a stepmother. So, we have a lot of different roles. And I think that we don't want to put ourselves in boxes, because sometimes the box goes away, whether we want it to or not, like in this pandemic. And we have to find a new box. So I think so if we haven't had the career curiosity up until now, okay, again, that's okay, right? That's in the past. We need to let that go. We need to just forgive ourselves and others that may need forgiving, for putting us in a box or putting ourselves in a box, whatever, and really have some more curiosity and really start to do more research around what is out there for us. What can somebody do beyond, the 5 to 10 things that we really have intimate knowledge of, from our own work or the work of our, close people in our lives, or, other roles that people have done, at our own work, so if I work with somebody who does a certain job, like I'm aware of their job, but, because I know about it, they do it or whatever, that's what most of us know about. We know about what our parents did. We know about, other people in our family, our spouses, partners, boyfriends, girlfriends. If we're older, maybe we know what our children have done. So I think that's really, really important to just make sure that you have that open mind and that learning orientation. Yes. And Murphy says, it seems like the best choice not to go down a rabbit hole about talents that are not part of the job description. So I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. I'm talking to your perspective. I'm just going to keep it simple. Yeah, right. Because what happens is, and this actually leads right into one of the questions in the Q&A that I wanted to address. So, and I can't remember who wrote this. I think it was Tracy, talking about how do you focus your resume? So she asked, how do I focus my resume, or, focus on accounting? I've done a lot of accounting. And she basically said, but she doesn't have an accounting degree, and that she's done a lot of other things. I think that's the key. After we've been in the workforce a while, we've probably all done a lot of things. And your resume and your LinkedIn profile and your cover letter and all of those assets, and we're going to talk about all those assets in deep detail on Wednesday in the main session. And so that's going to be the highlight of Wednesday. But I wanted to touch on it now, since it was asked about, and there's no too much talking about this topic because it's a hot one. A resume is not a list of everything you've ever done in your life. A resume is a marketing tool to get you an interview so that you can prove yourself, to get a job offer, and then make a decision whether or not that job offer is something that is going to be good for you or not. That is what a resume is. So a lot of people feel like they're lying if they don't put everything they've ever done on their resume. I've said to people, well, if you don't want, let's say you have, and I haven't seen Tracy's resume, but let's say Tracy has a lot of accounting experience, but let's say she's also done some, I don't know, maybe she did some IT stuff also, or maybe she did some social media posting for the same employer or whatever. Maybe her job was a little bit of a hodgepodge, but what she really wants now is an accounting related job. And she feels like she doesn't have enough accounting experience, or she doesn't have only accounting experience, so no one will see her as an accounting person, right? She does not need to put all that other stuff on her resume. I mean, she doesn't. You're not lying by omitting particular responsibilities or accomplishments from your resume. You can focus your resume on what it is that you want to sell. Now, we can't lie and say we did something we didn't do, though, right? So I'm not saying if she had no accounting experience that she should say she had accounting experience, but it's okay to pull out the pieces that you want to present that are going to help you with your target. We talked about when we talked at noon today, we talked about choosing something, right? Picking a target so that we can move forward, so that we can get out of the cul-de-sac, and so that we can get the car on the road going somewhere, taking a baby step, right? And, like Murphy just said, don't go down the rabbit hole, right? So we're in a rabbit hole, we're in a cul-de-sac, we're on the hamster wheel, all those analogies again, right? They all mean stuck and going nowhere, right? So we want to get out of that mindset. You have to pick something, right? And then everything that you communicate needs to support that. So, if it confuses a recruiter or a hiring manager, and it does, and I'm going to explain to you why in a second, we're going to talk more about this on Wednesday, but if it confuses them to see that you've done too many different things and they can't really figure out the thing that you really want to do, don't confuse them. Make it very clear for them what it is you want to do by what you're presenting and what you're bringing forward in the resume. So we're going to get into that in a lot more detail on Wednesday. But I will tell you, I was a recruiter. I also did training, and I wrote policies and procedures in talent acquisition. I basically did everything in talent acquisition at one point or another in my career. However, do you have to have dates for when you worked in particular positions? You should, and we're going to talk about that, Peggy, on Wednesday, about how to structure resumes and holes in your resume and all that stuff. Yep. So we're definitely going to get to talking more in depth about resumes on Wednesday, and really all the rules on how to structure them. And you probably can tell already that I don't follow conventional wisdom always with rules, because I go by my own experience, but those are really good questions. Peggy, actually, if you want to put those questions in the Q&A thread on Wednesday, that would be really great too. And I'll make sure that we address those for sure. I just don't want to get off too much on a tangent right now. But what I really want to just impress upon you is the fact that you have to target what you're looking for in everything that you present. Recruiters are very tired of looking at resumes. I know that sounds ridiculous because that's the job, right? But it really is. It's kind of mentally taxing, to continuously look at a screen all day and watch resume after resume come in front of your face. Especially if you work for a very large organization as a recruiter, you're going to get a lot of resumes and you have to look at them all. And because, you never know which one is the one, right? So you have to look at them all and you have to make a decision whether or not these people meet the minimum qualifications enough that you send them to the hiring manager, for further review. So the recruiter in a bigger, usually mid to bigger size organization is the gatekeeper. And that person is really just tired of looking at words. There are horrifying walls of text. Yeah, if what you mean by that is people who just put big paragraphs in their resume. Yeah, and I'm not reading that. I don't have time to read that. So your resume needs to scream what you want it to scream, right from the get-go. So that's kind of a very long way of answering, I guess, what Tracy was asking. I don't know if Tracy's on right now. I haven't seen her yet. And hopefully she'll watch this call later, but I'll make sure she gets the info. But, and we'll talk more about it, of course, like I said, on Wednesday. But, you absolutely can focus on what you want to focus on as long as you are not making things up or lying. But you can certainly omit things that you don't want to focus on or sell about yourself. Another question that I saw, and actually I think it was Peggy and Tracy that commented on this one, and there may be other questions out there on the Q&A, and I apologize if there are some. I probably stopped looking at it about 20 minutes before we got on this call, so if there's new ones, we'll talk about them at 8 o'clock. But the other question was talking about not having professional contacts in their local area because they haven't lived in their local area for long, or they haven't worked in their local area in a while, and talking about establishing relationships. So we actually are going to talk a lot about networking and connection and creating communities early next week in the workshop. That's when we're going to really dig into that. Again, just like resumes dig into on Wednesday, next week we're going to dig into that. But I did, of course, want to address it because it was in the Q&A. So there are a lot of ways that we can connect with other people to find out about jobs. So to say that you don't know anyone in your area, well, how do you meet people, right? And in a professional way. And I think a lot of people really just, they don't see how to do that organically. So obviously with, COVID-19 and, us all having to stay in our homes, things have changed a little bit. But a lot of it has still remained the same, how we really meet people and in a professional level in 2020. So obviously LinkedIn is huge, and it is very important if you are looking for a job that your LinkedIn profile is optimized. And by that, I mean, you've filled out every section to the best of your ability. We're going to talk about LinkedIn on Wednesday as well, in the resume cover letter LinkedIn kind of day conversation. It's very important though that you fill out all the sections and that you do so in a way that you've optimized each section. So again, LinkedIn is not a resume. LinkedIn is not just a list of everything you've done. It's yet another type of selling tool. And really, LinkedIn is an attraction strategy. It's a way to get people to you're attracting the right people, the right connections to you. And whether that be people that actually have a job open that they want to fill, I love LinkedIn too, Murphy. And I never used to love it. I think when I was a recruiter, it used to annoy me a little bit, even though I used it, to find candidates. I didn't love it, but now I really love it. And I really see, the value of it. And I really see how much it can really help people. I see how much it helps my clients when I recommend to them how to, optimize their LinkedIn profile and how many more hits they get of people who are looking for people like them. And then the other thing is, if you are trying to meet people and form a professional network, When you approach someone on LinkedIn, you cannot have, a shell of a profile with no photo, or, an unprofessional looking photo. I saw a woman the other day that had she was wearing her wedding dress. It was a wedding picture that she had of herself for her LinkedIn profile picture. And I thought that was really weird. It's also weird, like when people put like themselves and a spouse in a, it's not a, it's not a social site, so it should just be you looking professional. So Liz said, to be clear, more consolidated version. It's not necessarily consolidated, Liz. It is that the part of LinkedIn that you want to mostly optimize, and we will talk about this more, but the part of LinkedIn you want to optimize is that top section where the first thing somebody sees when they read, like the About You section. And what happens is a lot of people don't like writing that because they don't like writing. So they feel like, I don't know what to put there, and they freak out. So we're going to talk about that in more depth, about how to optimize that space and what to write there. But what you want to put there is something that is going to attract the right people. So that is more of a marketing type of writing than it is, it's a marketing type of writing, not just like a resume bullet point type of writing. So we're going to talk about that more specifically for sure, Liz, on Wednesday, and get more deeply into LinkedIn. But it is it's just very, very important. Yeah, definitely get that on your list. Because what I am going to teach you about next week, and what we're going to talk about in a lot of depth when we get to networking, is approaching people on LinkedIn and getting that network built, meeting more people, talking with more people about the things that you want to learn about. So career curiosity, right? So that's why I said it ties into the question that we were going to address today. You want to learn about who are some other people who do things that are interesting to you. And wouldn't it be interesting to find out about their career path and how they got where they are and what advice they might have for you. And, maybe they can tell you a little bit more about, what they like and don't like, right? About their jobs or about the careers that they're in, especially for people who are doing any kind of career changing. So we're going to talk, certainly more about that next week, but yeah, it is very important to build your network. Some other ways that you can meet people though in your community, joining meetup groups. Obviously right now that's difficult because, we're all home. Although a lot of meetup groups have gone to having online events, just like everyone has, to try to keep people engaged. Professional associations in your industry or fields of interest are very big. My son is a graphic designer, and he belongs to the AIGA, which I think stands for American Institute of Graphic Arts. It's so old they actually call it graphic arts. And he does a lot of programming with them. And I'm sure they're doing a lot of programming online. And I think all of those types of organizations are, I'm a member of a bunch of women's business networking associations here in Richmond. And nationally as well. And I know they're all doing programming online right now. Alumni organizations from your school, the sky's the limit, really. I think you have to expand your view of who is a potential person who might be able to help you with employment. Honestly, if they have a beating heart, they are a potential person who could help you with employment. Anybody that you know could know somebody who could help you with employment. So, the other thing we're going to talk about when we get into that is in more depth next week with the networking conversation is anyone is a potential job lead. So what that means is, and again, I know you're not doing some of these things because of quarantine, but if you're at the soccer field and you're talking to, a parent of one of the other children about your job, and you tell that person how much you hate your job, or you tell that person how much you hate your boss or whatever, right? Or you're negative about it. How do you know that person doesn't know somebody that might be able to give you a job? And now you have made yourself look like a really negative jerk to that person because you're venting to them thinking, oh, this is just a friend, or it's just a person that I know through my kids or whatever, anybody that you talk about a job to anywhere. So if it's the social after church, if it's soccer field, if it's, talking to friends in your neighborhood, even family members, anybody that you talk to about your job search is a potential source of information. So again, the curiosity thing, or they're a source of a potential job lead. And the more positive you are and the more professional you are when you talk about your job search and what you're looking for, the more you're going to build a network of people that really want to help you. So I feel like if you're in job search mode, especially if you're really in serious job search mode, like you are looking for a job right now, you need a job right now, everyone you talk to about employment is a potential job lead, and it's treated like it's an interview. Treat it like you were being interviewed when you talk to somebody about it. Because what happens is we don't do that, and we turn that piece of ourselves off, and we let the more negative venting piece, out. I say save the negative venting piece for, maybe your spouse, your partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, somebody really close to you, maybe your mother. Punch a pillow, do whatever you have to do, go somewhere by yourself and scream in your car. But, be positive and open when you're talking to anybody about your employment situation. So those were just a couple of the questions that I saw. I will take a look at the question link again for sure before we talk again at 8. And again, I know as I'm talking, you guys are scrolling through pretty fast. Did anyone have a question? Let's see, what time do we have? Yeah, it's only 4:34, so I do have a few more minutes to spend with you guys if you would like. So Cecilia says, I get a lot of views on LinkedIn, but no calls. How can I change that? I would be willing to bet, Cecilia, that you have not really optimized your profile and targeted it, that's hard to say, to the people that really want to hire someone like you. Once again, just like looking at a resume really quickly, recruiters also look at LinkedIn profiles really quickly. I know when I was a recruiter and I had a LinkedIn recruiter account, so I would search for people based on keywords. If the keywords are not in your resume, or they don't make sense when the person, so maybe you'll come up in the search because the keyword is there, like you said, that you'll get a view, but they won't reach out to you because whatever the thing is, they're just not seeing it. So I haven't looked at your LinkedIn profile, Cecilia, but my guess is that it is not targeted enough. The answer almost always with resumes and LinkedIn profiles and all these things, if you're not getting hits, it usually is because it is not targeted enough. And obviously we're in unusual times right now. And, of course, this pandemic adds a huge wrinkle, additional layer of complexity and issue to this. And I realize that, we're having a talk about this in a time when, things are tough. However, there are still people getting jobs, and there are still people hiring. So I know that it's not impossible, to get those hits. But I will say that and I was a recruiter, during the 2008, downturn in the economy, and I went through all that at the same time. And I was really, really, frustrated during that time as well, because, even though there weren't as many jobs to fill, it was still hard to fill the jobs, even though we had 1 million people out there, because people weren't targeting their resume. What happens is, in a time when when the economy gets bad and people start getting laid off, and right now, obviously, we're seeing this in a huge way, right? So when we see that, people tend to panic, which I understand doesn't help, but I understand it's human nature. And they want to cast a wider net. So they think, I don't want to be too specific in what I say I'm looking for, because then what if that specific thing doesn't exist and, nobody wants me? But the problem is that a confused mind doesn't buy. So if a person is confused as to what it is you're selling, and you're selling yourself, if they're confused as to what it is you're actually presenting and what you're actually selling, they're not going to understand what it is you're selling, and they're not going to buy. So by buy, I mean they're not going to call you, they're not going to email you, they're not going to send you to their hiring manager because they're not clear. They're not clear on what it is. So the clarity is big. Tomorrow we're going to talk about clarity around the target. And Wednesday we're going to talk more about the resume, LinkedIn profile, cover letter, and all that good stuff, which I know is everybody's favorite fun thing. But we're gonna kind of demystify and break some of that stuff down on Wednesday. So I hope that helps a little bit. I know, without actually, seeing your stuff, I can't, for sure know, but that is almost always the reason, because it's not targeted enough. And Murphy says she asks everyone. Yeah, everyone, because you just never know who knows somebody. We are all, because at the end of the day, companies are made up of people, right? Organizations are made up of human beings, and they're all, they're not all walking around right now because they're all in their houses, but they're out there on social media, they're out there in the world, and they're just like you and me. And the interesting thing is, I think we think externally that, it's like an us and them kind of mentality. Like the other people out there are the people that, are the contacts. And there are plenty of people that would like to network with you. There are plenty of people that would like to network with me. And there are plenty of people who would see, you or I as a source of information or a potential lead or a potential whatever, right? We all have information to share. The other thing I'll say about that is I think people are, a little bit nicer right now. At least most people are. Some people are very impatient and they're not nice. But I think in general, there is a general feeling right now, because we are, in this global pandemic, there are a lot of people who want to help each other. There are a lot of people who feel very fortunate in their situations, and they really want to help other people. I find whenever I reach out to people on LinkedIn now and, offer them, to come into my free workshop or to work with me, if they're not interested, they're still really nice about it. And they say, I'm in a great place, but, I'd love to refer you or your workshop to people that I know who might be able to use it. Or, how can I help you? There's a lot more how can I help you going on right now than normal. There's a lot of compassion, as Murphy said. Yeah, I think there's more, and I think for those of us who are old enough, which probably most of us on this call are, to remember 9/11, during that time, same thing, people were nicer. Unfortunately, it doesn't last. And that's a human nature problem I'm not going to address right now. And I really not really qualified to address, but, I think we all know, common crisis, tends to unite people. And after 9/11, I feel like, we had a lot of that as well. People really wanting to help each other. That was another downturn in the economy when I was a recruiter. I actually started in recruiting and on a commission basis, salary plus commission, like about a year before that. So that was fun. I made it through a couple of really bad downturns. So I've been a recruiter in good times and I was a recruiter in bad times. And I know that there are jobs in all times for people who are really, really targeting themselves and really, really working it. It does take more effort. You can't just say, oh, I sent out a whole bunch of resumes and I didn't get any response. I had one client, one-on-one coaching client in human resources, and she had a human resources generalist type of role. So she did do a lot of different things. So to that earlier question of, what if I did accounting, but I also did all these other things? This woman did like everything in human resources, and she had been laid off and was on unemployment and was freaking out a little bit because this was before pandemic unemployment. So it was, limited amount of money she was getting coming in, and she was freaking out a little bit. She told me when I first started working with her, I've sent out at least 100 resumes and I've gotten no responses. And I'm thinking there is no reason for this. She had a degree. She had really good experience. When I spoke with her, certainly she presented herself well, and I just couldn't. And I said, I know probably what the problem is. And the problem was she was literally throwing the spaghetti at the wall to see what would stick. She was applying for every job she could possibly find with the words human resources in it. And she wasn't targeting her resume. She's like, well, I'm a generalist. I don't care if you're a generalist. Let's become a specificness, whatever the word would be for that, right? Let's become an expert. Let's really get more specific, which is what we did with her resume. I said, okay, what of all these things in human resources, what's the one you're the most interested in? And she said employee relations. I said, okay, how much employee relations, work have you done? And it was a lot. I said, okay, well then that's what we're going to highlight. That's what we're going to talk about in your LinkedIn profile. That's what we're going to call you. We're going to call you the employee relations, expert specialist. We're going to claim that for you. And that's what we did. And she got a job in employee relations it was amazing. She got it, I think this was back in October. She got a job really fast. Now, would she have gotten a job that fast now? I don't know, probably not. She went to work at a hospital, so maybe she would have, I don't know. But it was really fast. I mean, by like our 4th session together, she had already gotten the interviews that she wanted and gotten a job. And it was because she targeted her resume. So I am telling you, it is so important to do that. I see it with my clients, and I saw it as a recruiter a million times over. So that's what I'm here to do, to help you with that. So please put additional questions in the Q&A thread. There's a big question mark. You'll see the thread. If you haven't done your homework yet and you have time to do that between now and the next session, please do that. Pop in there. If you do your homework, please send me a message and let me know which of my fiction books you would like as your gift. I think it was Stephanie already claimed her gift, so please do that. And then there's a lot of other threads going on, things to talk about, what have you. There's I put up the poll of where everybody is as far as where they are in their job search. So take a look at that. If there's any people who are in the same boat as you and you want to reach out to them and friend them or talk to them, certainly that would be a super awesome thing to do. I really want to promote community in the group. And like I said, I'm really excited about the fact that everyone is talking to each other, which I really, really like that a lot. So before we go, does anyone have any other very burning questions and I really apologize if you asked a question higher up in this chat thread, but they're flying at me really fast. And if I start looking through those, it's just not going to be good. It's not going to be easy to do. So if you have a question you'd really like to ask right now, please, let's see if we could take maybe one more question. And if not, if everybody's burnt out, getting ready to go make their dinner or have their lunch or whatever, depending on where you are and what time it is, you can put any more questions in the Q&A thread and we'll talk about them in a few hours. And we can be going with that. So going, gone. Okay, I don't see anybody else coming forth right now. So I'm going to take a look at this thread too and see if there's any questions, once I sign off. And see what else is in here. And then I'm going to eat dinner with my husband and play with my dogs and try to get caught up. And I will be back at 8 o'clock and we're going to do the same thing again. And at 8 o'clock, we're going to talk about, I think we're going to talk about change, right? I think that was the one. Yeah, make friends with change. So we're going to talk about change at 8 o'clock. So I know that's one a lot of people don't like, but that means that it's even more important if you think it sounds a little scary. So thank you all so much. Thank you. It's so nice to see you all here again. And that's okay, Peggy. And if you can't, any sessions that you cannot make, they are all going to be housed under videos on the Facebook group. So super simple. That's why we're doing this in a Facebook group. You don't have to have links. You don't have to remember Zoom call links or any of that nonsense. You don't have to sign into anything. All you have to do is pull up Facebook on your phone or on your computer, go to this group, go to videos, and it's all there. It's so easy. Nancy, you won't miss it because you can see it as soon as it's over. And if you have questions about anything that you hear on the 8 o'clock call, you can put it in the questions thread, and I will definitely get to addressing it sometime, during the week. So I promise I'll try to get to everybody's questions as much as possible. We have a long time together, and that's why I made this a good long time so that we can really get to the meat of all of your questions. The main content at 12 o'clock is going to start to get shorter too, like after the first 4 or 5 days, and we're going to start to switch over even more to question time. So thank you so much, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.